Welcome back, everyone, to lesson 2. So, today we will begin by exploring the regulatory framework that defines organic farming in the European Union. This framework is not just a list of technical rules, it's what ensures that the term organic has a clear, trustworthy meaning everywhere in Europe. So it protects consumer, it guarantees fair competition, and ensures that organic farming really delivers on its promises. So environmental protection, biodiversity, animal welfare, and transparent supply chains. The cornerstone of this system is the EU regulation in 2018 848, which came fully into force on the 1st January 2022. This regulation defines how organic products are produced, processed, labeled, and certified through the European Union. Its principles are straightforward but powerful. So, no GMOs, limited synthetic inputs, strong animal welfare, and full traceability from farm to fork. So, what's new in this updated regulation? It is the modern scope. It now covers products like salt, corn, cork, essential oils, and cotton, and its focus on inclusion through group certification for small scale farmers. So, over the next few slides, we will trace how this framework evolved, what is requires in practice, and how it's implemented across different EU countries. So, before we go into the details of the current regulation, let's take a quick look at how the European framework for organic farming has evolved over time. So, it all started in the 1970s and 1980s when organic farming emerged as a sustainable alternative to the rapid industrializing and chemical intensive agriculture of the post war period. The first common EU rule came in 1991 with a regulation 2092, which gave the first legal definition of organic farming, but not for plant production. Then, in 1999, the regulation 1804 explained the rules to livestock, adding requirements on animal welfare, feed, and the prohibition of GMOs. Then we moved in 2007 with the regulation 834. This regulation restructured the system. It's introduced clearly labeling and stronger control mechanism. And then, few years later, the EU organic logo was created, and the EU organic logo that's all now recognized today. Finally, in 2018, the EU adopted the regulation 848, as I said before, that became fully applicable in 2022. So this is the regulation that currently governs organic farming across Europe. It broadens the list of certified products, including salt, beeswax, cotton, and essential oils, sorry, and introduce also group certification for small producers, import and anti-fraud controls, and align organic farming with broader EU priorities such as Green Deal, climate action, and biodiversity protection. Notice also that the goal of producing high quality food was removed as a formal legal objective. The emphasis now is on systemic sustainability rather than product only the production. Okay, so I reported here the EU organic logo, as I mentioned before. Now that we have seen the historical evolution of organic legislation, let's take a closer look at what actually changed with the latest framework, so the Regulation 848. So this regulation represents the most comprehensive reform in the history of EU organic policy. So it's not only updates technical rules, but also redefines the way organic farming interacts with markets, sustainability goals, and small producers. So the first one, it expands the scope of what can be certified. For the first time, products like salt, cork, beeswax are officially included in the EU organic system. Second, it introduces group certification, so a small, a major innovation, sorry, designed to help small producer access to organic markets. So instead of being certified one by one, farmers can join an internal control system where part of the inspection is managed collectively and later certified by an external control body. So this reduces cost and increase inclusivity without compromising quality. Third point is the regulation um, tightens import and anti-fraud rules. Only products certified under EU equivalent standards can be imported and sold as organic. This is part of a wider EU effort to protect both consumer and European farmers from unfair competition. Then it places much greater emphasis on sustainability and climate action. So organic farming is now clearly linked to the EU Green Deal and the Farm to Fork strategy. So align agriculture with biodiversity protection, soil regeneration, and local food systems. Finally, deregulation simplified the overall structure by consolidating multiple older texts into a single legal framework with um, and implementing acts. So making it easier to interpret and apply. So this regulation, the 848, now applies to a clear, defined, and expanded set of products categories. These all falls into the three main groups: feed, live and unprocessed agricultural products, and processed agricultural products for use as food. So feed, so any material intended to nourish animals must comply with organic standards, including traceability and ingredient sourcing. Live and unprocessed agricultural products. This broad category includes crops, livestock, seeds, plant reproductive material, aquaculture, and even wild collected products like mushrooms and herbs. Then the third group is processed agricultural products for human consumption, so such as organic pasta, cheese, bread, or herbal teas. So these must be made primarily from certified organic ingredients and processed following strict EU guidelines. But beyond defining what can be certified, the regulation introduces, as I said, group certification. So this system is designed specifically for small-scale producers who face economic and administrative barriers to assessing organic certification. So instead of applying individually, farmers can form an internal control system and undergo certification as a collective unit. So the benefits are clear: lower costs through shared inspection and administration, simplified compliance, especially in rural or resource poor areas, and improve market access for producers who would otherwise be excluded from the organic value chain. So this system does not compromise standards. Each group must implement robust internal controls, and certification bodies still verify compliance externally. So, in short, the EU organic regulation not only sets high production and processing standards, but also promotes inclusivity by offering tools for small producers. And so, this is a step toward a more fair and diversified organic sector. Now that we explored the legal framework, it's time to ask a more practical question. What does organic farming actually require on the ground according to the EU regulations? So these rules go well beyond just avoiding chemicals. They define an entire way of farming, one that puts environmental protection, animal welfare, and systemic sustainability at the center. Let's begin with crop production. Organic farmers are required to use practicals that maintain or even enhance soil fertility and biodiversity. So these mean rotating crops instead of planting the same species. It means using cover crops to protect the soil and relying on compost or green manure to nourish it. Critically, synthetic mineral fertilizers are strictly prohibited. Soil health must be supported through natural biological processes, not through artificial inputs. So it's farming with the ecosystem, not against it. Regarding the livestock farming, which is governed by some of the most detailed and strict rules in the regulation, animals in organic system must have regular access to outdoor areas and pasture, not just confined housing. So the living condition must support both either their physical and physiological well-being. I will explain in the next lessons, but there are also limits on stocking density to prevent overgrazing and overcrowding. So feeding must be 100% organic, and the use of genetically modified organisms or synthetic feed additives is strictly forbidden. Finally, there is the question on conversion. So, how a farm transitions from conventional to organic. So, this process usually takes 2 or 3 years and requires the farmer to fully adopt organic practices before receiving certification. So, during this time, the farmer must maintain strict separation between organic and conventional operations, separate plots, separate storage, and separate equipment.
Why this separation? Because the integrity of the system depends on preventing contamination and ensuring full traceability. So all of these requirements, so on crops, animals, on conversion, are that give EU organic products their credibility. The organic label is not just a marketing tool, it represents a regulated um, system designed to protect ecosystems, ensure animal health, and earn the trust of consumers. And to guarantee that trust, every certified operator must, from farmers to food processors, is subject to regular inspections by accredited control bodies. So let's move forward and when we talk about how EU organic legislation is actually put into practice, it's important to understand the division of responsibility between the European Commission and the Member States. So, both levels play a crucial role in making sure that organic standards are applied fairly, consistently, and effectively across all EU countries. So let's start with the European Commission. Its job is to ensure that EU laws are correctly applied in every member state, not just for organics but for all EU policies. When it comes to organic farming, the Commission acts as a supervisor and coordinator. So every year it receives detailed reports from each country. These reports include how many organic operators are were inspected, what type of non-compliance were found, and what actions were taken to correct them. But the Commission doesn't just sit in Brussels reading reports. It also conducts on site audits in member states. So these audits serve to verify how national control systems are functioning and whether they uphold the common EU standards. So why is this important? Because it ensures that the organic labels means the same thing whether we are in Portugal or Poland. That's the essence of consumer trust is in a single market. So the organic label means the same things in all EU states, member states. So now what about the member states? They are the ones who carry out the actual enforcement of the rules. They inspect organic farms and processing units. They take corrective actions when needed, and they manage traceability systems to track organic products through the supply chain. So each country is required to report annually to the Commission with evidence of their enforcement activities. So we have a system that works on two levels. National authorities perform day-to-day control and certification, and the European Commission provides oversight, coordination, and accountability. So this shared responsibility is what ensures harmonization. So it means that an organic apple from France and an organic cheese from Austria have been certified according to the same rules, verified under the same system, and subjected to regular inspections at both national and EU levels.
Let's clarify in this slide an important point. The EU regulation, like the 848, are directly applicable in all member states. That means the core rules for organic farming, aquaculture, food processing are the same across the Union. However, the practical side of things, such as who performs the inspections, who issues the certificates, and how some sanctions are applied, is left to the individual countries. So each member state is responsible for setting up the administrative framework needed to make the regulation work. So this is include creating national legislation, appointing one or more competent authorities, and authorizing certification bodies that are legally allowed to inspect and certify organic operators. Then let's take a closer look at Italy, for example. Here, the EU regulation is integrated into a broader national system. In March 2022, Italy passed law number 23, which does several important things. It defines the structure of the national organic production system, recognize organic districts as territorial areas with coordinated organic development, outline support measures for the sector, and also introduce a national organic label for products made with, with Italian organic raw materials. Then, in October 2023, legislative decree number 148 was issued to ensure full alignment with Regulation 848, with the official controls regulation, the regulation 625. So the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry is the national authority overseeing the system. So it also maintains and publishes the official list of authorized certification bodies on its website, ensuring transparency and access for operators and consumers alike. So even through the EU provides the legal foundation, each country is responsible for turning those rules into daily practice in a way that fits in on their own administrative, legal, and agricultural context.
Now let's see um, how it is implemented the regulation in Romania and Greece. Starting with Romania, the overall system is aligned with EU regulation, but the way it is implemented reflects national priorities and administrative structures. So, oversight is carried out by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. However, certification is handled by private control bodies which are accredited and officially registered with the ministry. This public private division of roles ensures both institutional oversight and operational flexibility. In addition, Romania integrates organic farming into its national implementation of the common agricultural policy, offering support measures tailored to the country's economic and agronomic context. Regarding Greece, the competent authority is the Ministry of Rural Development and Food, And the certification activities are carried out by private organizations that must be accredited by the Hellenic accreditation system. Then Greece placed particular emphasis on its traditional organic sectors, like such as olive oil, wine, and honey. And the support for organic farming in Greece is also provided through the rural development plans, fully aligned with EU level strategic goals. So, together, these examples illustrate a key principle. While the regulation standard is unified at the EU level, the implementation is flexible, so adapting to each country's administrative systems, institutional culture, and farming landscape. So, this balance between coherence and subsidies allow each member state to effectively support the development of its organic sector while still operating within a harmonized European framework. Let's now see and examine how Portugal and Ukraine approach the regulation of organic farming. Starting with Portugal, the sector is supervised by the Directorate General for Agriculture and Rural Development, which acts as the national authority for organic farming. Certification is carried out by private control bodies, which must be accredited by the Portuguese Institute for Accreditation. These ensure that all certification processes meet strict technical and legal standards. That's especially notable in Portugal in the National Strategy for Organic Farming, which outlines clear priorities. Expanding the surface area dedicated to organic agriculture, improving market structures, and most importantly, reinforcing consumer trust in organic labels. So the country sees organic farming not only as an environmental asset, but also as a market opportunity to be developed with the support of public institutions. Now let's shift to a very different context, Ukraine. I thought Ukraine has developed a national legal framework that is closely aligned with the EU organic standards. The key reference is law number 2496, passed in 2018, title on basic principles and requirements for organic production, circulation, and labeling of organic products. Oversight is the responsibility of the Ministry of Agrarian Policy and Food, and the country has adopted a dual system of certification. Organic operators can be certified by both national and international bodies under recognition and equivalency agreements. So this alignment is crucial for facilitating trade, especially with the EU, and for building credibility also in export markets. Let's wrap up this lesson with a few key takeaways. First, we have seen the regulation 848 is the cornerstone of organic farming in Europe. So it does not just set technical rules, it provides a comprehensive system that covers crops, livestock, aquaculture, and even processed organic foods. Second, certification under this regulation is rigorous. but it also includes tools like group certification to make it more accessible for small producer. This helps reduce inequalities in access to the organic markets. Third, the implementation of the regulation is shared between the European Commission, which supervises the audits, and the member states, which handle inspections and reinforcement on the ground. We also looked at national levels examples, countries like Italy, Romania, Greece, and Portugal, and also Ukraine. So, what does this all mean? It shows us that the EU organic regulation is not just a set of bureaucratic rules, it's a living system that balance harmonization and with flexibility, ensuring both consumer trust and fair opportunities for producers across different regions. So this framework is essential if we want organic farming to grow in a credible, inclusive, and sustainable way.
So this is it for this lesson. See you in the next lesson.